All right, welcome everybody. Today I'm gonna show you how to make a super simple, delicious pasta dish that is actually a variation of the dish that I made for my Masterchef audition. Today I'm going to be making a goat cheese ravioli that has roasted red peppers and spinach with it. Very simple sauce, very simple dish. It works as an appetizer, it works as an entree, just depending on what you're feeling. But from this recipe, you will learn how to make different variations with your own filling, with your own pasta, with your own sauce. So right now I'm just gonna teach you some simple fundamentals to make an awesome pasta dish. So we're gonna get started by getting our roasted peppers in the oven. I'm actually about to preheat the oven to 425. Nice hot temperature is gonna help it roast. So we're gonna start by chopping these peppers up. Let's get them processed. You know what's funny? I always cut peppers like this, and every time I do, people are like, wow, that's a really simple way to cut peppers, and it really is. You may know this trick, you may not. What I do is I take the pepper, cut the top off just like that. Because I'm actually gonna use these big chunks from the tops. Just chop them like this, nice big chunks. Because when they roast down, they're gonna come down to all about even size. So this is the cool part. When you've got this little tube of pepper here, just put it like this, and you're gonna run your knife down the flat side like this, and it opens it up like that. And then you just roll, and be very careful. You see how I'm being light and I'm not pushing the knife? I don't want to cut my finger off. Lift this up. Look at that. Look how clean of a pepper you get. Now you could use this for anything. You could julienne this. I could sit here, julienne through that, but what we're doing is I do like these thick kind of offset chunks. Just like that. Yeah. Boom, right in. I always like to add a little bit of garlic in there. This is not necessary for this recipe. This is up to you. You can. If you don't want it inside your pasta dish, don't put it in. I like to just go crush it with my knife a little bit. Helps it roast a little bit, release some of its oils. There's different things you can do to make things more upscale, you should say. Like if I was to process these peppers to be a little bit more even, you know, that adds to the upscaleness of a dish, just like the processing of the ingredients themselves. I'm gonna go just right in half, just so everything's a little bit more even, because I like the garlic dispersed throughout the dish. And roasted garlic gets like a sweetness to it, so it's not gonna be really overpowering. We're gonna take this and go in, nice drizzle of olive oil, salt, be a little bit generous, pepper. I'm gonna go in with some thyme. I'm not even gonna cut the thyme up. I'm literally just gonna throw it in there. Now what I'm gonna do, just get my hands in there. And there you go. I'm gonna take that, I'm going right in the oven with it and let that roast until all the peppers break down and the garlic gets nice and roasted. So now that our peppers are in the oven and they're roasting with the garlic, I'm gonna start working on everything else. What I'm gonna do here is get the ingredients that I need, which is some parsley to start. I'm gonna save some of this parsley for garnish later. I don't need too much, and you'll see what I mean, but that'll be more than enough. We're not gonna make a whole lot of filling, so we don't need too much, but you definitely don't wanna shy away on the herbs on this, especially because we have goat cheese in there, which is such a sharp cheese. You really want that herb to help cut through that. Now I got thyme. Now this thyme is a little bit different sometimes than what you might find, but this is grown, fresh grown thyme. Sometimes it's a little woodier. That stuff is actually easier to process. This is kind of a pain. I got ourselves a nice pile of thyme here, and a nice pile of parsley. And this is going to be going inside of our filling. So I'm just gonna chop this. We'll chop them right together. Boom. So now we got our herbs right here, and this is gonna go right into our filling. For this filling, we have 4 ounces of goat cheese. It goes right in there. And then we got 4 ounces of cream cheese. Right in. Season your filling. Generous pinch of salt. I'm gonna put a little pepper in there. Just kind of squish that down. It's so much better if you let this come up to room temperature before you start trying to work this filling together, because if not, it's gonna be so thick. pretty much together here, so I'm gonna start adding my herb in. Now you can add more herbs to this if you want. You can add basil. You can add whatever you want. Oregano. I kind of like it with this. I wouldn't mind a little bit of basil in here, but not super necessary. Take the piping bag, invert it like this, and just kind of run it down your hand like you're making a sock puppet. Like that. Just kind of shove it on in there. Take it, pull it over itself, and try to bring it down as far as you can, just by twisting it just like that. Now there's a lot of air in here, so it's not gonna come all the way down. What I do is I cut a tiny tip out of it, and then just kind of squeeze it down towards the end like that, and then take the pressure off of it. Now it's ready. I'm gonna leave it at room temperature so it's easy to pipe, but now I can make all my ravioli super simple. Just giving these a quick stir, I just pulled them out, wanted to show you what we're looking at. They're roasting nicely. You can see the blistering. They look awesome. We're gonna get them back in there. They still probably got another 10, 15 minutes. So I'm just taking a wet paper towel and I'm going to put it down right here. So when I put this down, now it's not moving. And I've got a hook on the end of this board which keeps it from moving, so when I'm pushing on the counter, it's nice and even. So we're gonna start making the pasta dough now. I do mostly by eye when I do this, but it's about 6 to 8 ounces of flour that's gonna go in here for about 2 eggs. What that looks like is a nice little mound of flour, just like that, maybe a little bit more. Now, my crucial rule with pasta is it's okay and it's better to make it more wet than dry. So 2 eggs, we're gonna go in with a drizzle of olive oil, just about a tablespoon, maybe lighter than a tablespoon. Kind of stir those eggs around a bit. Start incorporating the flour into that little vortex you've made there of egg. See, now we're coming together to start looking like a pasta dough. Now you can start going in with your hands when you're here. It's a little bit wet, so obviously I'm gonna put a little bit of flour in my hands. Flour my surface, nice generous amount of flour because I need to incorporate more. And just start working it. So, you see how loose this is and flimsy? I want something a little bit more stiff than that, and that's why I know I need more flour. So just go ahead and add it to your board and just knead it in. So yeah, even me, like when I just started this off, I added way too little flour, but that's fine because I'm bringing it up to my consistency, and I do that most of the time. I just think it's a lot easier. And I noticed that the dough comes out really nice when I do it that way. So I'm looking at this dough, and I know it's the consistency I want because look at this. You see how it springs? I can poke it and it just springs back. That's how you know you have a nice consistency, just right about there. I'm gonna get started on this pasta, but it's important to keep in mind while you're working about everything else you've got going. I've got those peppers in the oven and I haven't forgotten. I just gave them a look, gave them a quick stir. They still got some more time, so I could smell them. I'm just being conscious of that as I do this. Now you could roll this by hand if you wanted to and get it nice and thin, but I have a pasta machine, so I'm gonna use it. But if you wanted to roll it by hand, that's perfectly fine, especially with ravioli. Generous amount of flour. So I'm just gonna take it and I'm going right in the machine. Now sometimes when I have this texture right here, you see how it's kind of stretched out? It's because it didn't really rest, but what I would do is just take it and kind of fold it into itself like this, cover that in flour, work her back through. So I'm just gonna fold that back in, and we're gonna go down one setting. We're gonna make it a little bit thinner this time. Nice. So our dough is looking good. Get a little bit more flour on her. I'm gonna go down to our final setting that we want this at. Yeah, you see how transparent that instantly starts to get. Nice amount of flour on both sides. And now look at our pasta dough. Nice and thin and transparent, very delicate. What I'm gonna do is cut myself a sheet the size of my board, something that's easy to work with. So I'm gonna make a little egg wash. What I do now is I take the non-sharp side of this and I kind of mark out where the ravioli will fit. Got my layout. Now I'm gonna come in. Now in order to use a piping bag, this is really thick stuff. Twist as you're squeezing, because if you don't, you're just gonna be squeezing, it's gonna be coming out the top. Twist and squeeze. You see that? Now you see how I got height on it? Because I don't want these super flat ravioli. Not too much height though, because if you do too much, it's gonna be really difficult to close these. I got my pasta ready to go on. Egg wash. Going around the outside of all of these. Just take your time. I know it's a pain, it's annoying, but trust and believe. If you do not put this egg wash around, you will have leaks. And now I'm gonna start by pressing all the way on the end. And what I do is I just gently kind of make sure all the air is out as I put it down. Just kind of pat down the filling a bit. And just make sure you're working to each edge. Just cut this right here on the end. Save the rest of this dough on the side for more rav. I'm gonna start over here working these shapes. So work the shape. What I do is just make sure all the air you can get out is out. Be very gentle when you're pressing, not to cut into the ravioli. Boom. Now what I do is I just kind of check them out. You know, you see how I got an air pocket in there? I'm gonna work that down. Boom. And that is the first batch of ravioli. So right now, I'm actually gonna get started on toasting some pine nuts. I'm just gonna top this dish with some pine nuts, just for the hell of it. But you can kind of top it with whatever you want. I just think it needs a little bit of a crunch element, something to go with it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Top it with some toasted pine nuts. Slight amount of oil in the pan. You don't wanna deep fry these things. You just want a light toast. Realistically, you wanna toast them without oil, but I'm gonna put the tiniest bit of oil. I just like the flavor that it gives them. Now I'm gonna get them right in. Keep an eye on these and just make sure you're stirring them around, because this happens very quickly. I can smell them, they're nice and fragrant. We got nice toasty bits in there. What I'm gonna do now is actually go in with this salt. Kind of makes these little salty, crunchy bites absolutely delicious. I'm gonna take all this thyme out of this pan that I was talking about from earlier, because all of this is going right into the sauce. All right, so now we're gonna start working on the sauce. This is one of the final steps to getting everything together. So I'm just gonna get this pan on, and what I'm gonna do is add some heavy cream to this. Little tomato paste in there. And now I'm just gonna take a whisk and just kind of lightly beat it into here. Just kind of break it down. I'm gonna turn this down. I don't want this to over reduce yet. I'm gonna add some pepper. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. Now right into the sauce, we're gonna add all these peppers and garlic and all this good stuff. Everything together. You know, you see how thick and rich this sauce is? That's because it's just heavy cream and tomato paste. But super simple and delicious. And now we're gonna get the spinach in here. Got a decent amount of spinach. This is gonna break down. Work that spinach down. Now be very careful about the heat on this, because it's just heavy cream. It's gonna reduce down really quickly. So you see how here, it's gotten a little bit thick and it seems like the spinach isn't doing anything. What I'm gonna do is crank this back on like this. I'm gonna get myself a nice ladle of hot water. There we go, now we're breaking down. See how I just pivoted there? I had a little bit of an issue, and it's not a big deal, but a lot of people, or sometimes when people aren't experienced cooking, you might panic when something like that happens. Add a little bit of water to it, it's perfectly fine. So I got all the veg on one side here, and I've kind of tilted the pan over. I'm just letting this liquid kind of reduce down. But you see what I'm doing here? Everything's over here, kind of away from the heat. We're reducing down this liquid. While this is happening, we're gonna get started on our actual ravioli. Big pinch of salt. I mean, a couple of handfuls of salt, basically. Salty water, that's what's gonna flavor your pasta. These raviolis, when they go in, they're literally gonna take about a minute, half, maybe 2 minutes. And when they start to float, that's when they're about done. So we're going right in. These are floating. Now these are pretty much done. What we're worried about at this point, now that they're floating, is the filling warm enough? But we're gonna finish this in the sauce, so I can pull these right now. The pasta's cut. Look how beautiful these little ravioli look. Look at that. And then just right in there, into that sauce. And this is when we bring it all together. We're just gonna go like this, take a spoon, throw it all together here. Boom, you see those raviolis just kind of having fun. We're just gonna kind of flip it all together. Now, if you can't flip it like this, don't worry about it. Just use your spoon and keep working it. It does make it a lot easier to just kind of flip the pan, but you'll get there over time. Keep watching the videos. You'll get there. Ooh, all right. I am so happy with that. We are gonna clear everything down so that we can plate while everything is nice and hot. So, see, I'm gonna get the sauce to come down in the pan like this. I'm gonna start by just coming here to the plate and just kind of work a circle like that. That's where my ravioli are going to sit. Do the same thing over here. Now remember, we're going a little bit rustic, elegant and rustic kind of here. Start to plate out some ravioli. We're gonna do 5 each plate. So the reason we're doing 5 each plate is because odd numbers look better and more appealing to the eye. Now what you do is you just go in there with all these vegetables you have in there and just kind of work them into this pasta. A little bit of spinach, you know, you got a little bit of pepper. I got a little spot here on the edge of the plate, little paper towel. Just wipe it right off. Don't be afraid to clean your plate. We're gonna take these pine nuts, kind of sprinkle them all over. I kind of like when they fall to the edge of the plate. Little reminder of what's in there. Just put a little garnish of parsley in the center, something like that. And boom, super, super simple. And I always, with the ravioli, it's really nice. Little drizzle of oil. And that is our very rustic, delicious goat cheese ravioli. All right, so there we have it, our finished plated dish. So a couple things to say about this. You see how it's very rustic in its nature, how it's plated. We're not going for a crazy off-the-wall presentation here, but what I'm trying to show you is how you can take something that's like a glop of, you know, vegetables and ravioli and make it look very presentable. You could do this basically with any dish. But not only does it look good to eat, it's probably gonna taste amazing, so let's dig in. Now you see how these ravioli still have height to them? Look at that. Nice ratio of filling in there. Sauce, spinach, all together. I mean, it is so freaking good, I can't explain it to you. It is wildly magical. It's one of my favorite things on the planet to make just because goat cheese is so rich, compares really well with the fresh herb in there. Had a really nice thin pasta dough, and then it's just coated in that delicious, creamy, tomatoey sauce. And then the complement is really those roasted red peppers and that sauteed spinach just kind of bring a little break to the dish. And then the final icing on the cake is that pine nut on top. Those toasted pine nuts are absolutely delicious. Adds a nice crunch just to break everything out. I mean, this dish is magical. Yeah, so go ahead, make your own variation, watch this video, take your time and pay attention and try to make it.